So what we did today was we created you like a workbook to create a credit action plan, because a lot of people really have a lot of questions when it comes to creating action plans. And so I created like a little workbook where you could, for if you are talking to a client, you can have that to go through and check things off to help you create your action plans. Because I think it's important to know, even though like our Credit Butterfly software creates the action plans for you, you still need to know how to tweak the action plans and how to make it your own, and based on your customers' goals that they have. Because not everybody wants the same thing. I mean, most people, want to buy a house, but it may be that they have a lot of things like, they have an X amount of dollars, okay? Like maybe they have $2,000 they can spend towards creating their action plan. So you're going to have to tailor it for them. So the first thing that I like to do, like I normally just mark the credit report. So I created the workbook for you guys so that we could go through the different sections and what are the things that you're looking for to create action plans. And then I also will go over with like a rapid rescore, like what if scenario type thing with you that I had one of my loan officers run this week. So you could see what actually happens when they're running these analyzers at mortgage companies. For me, I've always really focused on loan officers, getting leads from loan officers, because I feel like that is the highest, one of the highest converting leads that you're going to get. And Kimberly, I'm going to make you the host so that you can let people in as they come in. Okay. And you put in the workbook for them?
I did. So everybody, and it's a PDF workbook, and you guys can download it and follow along, and it'll just be a guide as part of the class.
Is that good?
Can
Yes.
everybody see it?
Okay. So, like I said, when I create action plans, in order to get results for your clients nowadays, you really have to create action plans for them, and you have to have some type of a method in order to start, getting them positive credit points. So for me, this is how I like to do it. I like to go through the whole credit report with the client and just understand what is going on and what are their goals, what are they looking to do. If I see that they have a lot of things that need to be settled or paid off, I'm going to talk to them about that. I'm going to see how much money we have to work with. I'm going to get some basic information right up front so that I can create the right plan for them. Okay, so this particular workbook, you can put in your client name. You can do one of these for each one of your clients. You can just go through, just so you have the basic information, or your team members can do it. It's just got basic information in the beginning, your client's name, the date, your name, who's doing the actual evaluation, the report date, of course, that's important. The scores for Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And the first thing that I would do is kind of look through the credit report. What kind of negative items do you really see on the report? Is it just a lot of late payment? Is there a lot of collections? Are there charge-offs? Are there public records like bankruptcies? The only actual public record that shows up on any credit reports from Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax are bankruptcies. They no longer report judgments or tax liens. That's been quite a few years now that they stopped doing that. You can find those items on LexisNexis. So if somebody tells you that they have, they know they have some judgments with different things, you may need to get a LexisNexis report for them as well. And you can go online and do that. If anybody needs to know how to do that, just ask me and I'll let you know, and I'll put it in there in the chat. So student loans, what is the status of the student loans? Do they have delinquencies? Are there defaults? Is there high utilization? We're just going to go through and just kind of pick out the things that are there. Just check them off as you go so that when you look over this, you can see right away what it is. Then I talk to the client. What are their credit goals. What are they actually trying to do? Are they trying to buy a house? Or everyone has a story. So find out what your client's story is. If you're doing a credit evaluation, what is the goal 6 months? Is the goal 2 years from now? Is it, 1 year from now? It's all going to make a difference in what you suggest to the client in an action plan. And we'll try to cover, it's like, there's a lot to it. So I'm going to have to do a lot of just glossing over a lot of things that we could go into more detail about. But for me, like, if they don't want to buy a house, say they're like, okay, I want to buy a house in 2 or 3 years, and they have $50,000 worth of debt on their credit report, and they have no money, then you're thinking, okay, this might not be a good credit repair client, right? This is probably a better bankruptcy client if they don't have assets and things like that. So that's why it's important to get this information up front. What is the short-term goal? What is the long-term goal? What are they really looking to do? Because this will help you with your entire action plan. Okay. Any other information that the client gives you, they may tell you all kinds of things during that credit evaluation. Like a lot of times they'll tell me, oh, hey, you know what? I have all these accounts on there that are not mine. That's super important to know. That may be a mixed file for you, and that's going to be important later. So you want to jot these little things down that they're telling you, or maybe it's identity theft or whatever it may be, or that you go over a collection account and they tell you, oh, you know what? I paid that last month, or I paid that 6 months ago. It's still reporting that balance. Those are all things that you really need to know, and you want to jot down those notes because those are your FCRA violations too. So as you go through this, you'll be able to put together an entire plan based on a lot of what they're telling you. Okay, so for the cleanup plan, the first 30 to 45 days, what I like to do is first, let's look at the items we want to focus on, right? What are any third-party collections that I'm looking at, like LVNV funding, portfolio, anything like that, IC systems, third-party collection agencies. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and send validation letters to them. Okay. Any third-party collectors. And they don't have to really validate those, but here's what I'm finding. So I've been doing this. I've been getting really good results lately with this on a lot of deletions. Every client that I've sent validation letters out for in the last few months, for some reason, a lot of these accounts were getting deleted. We're sending the validations out. I mean, they really don't have to even do the validation. They only have to really, truly do the validation if it's within the 30 days of sending the first, dunning notice out. I send them out all the time, and a lot of times they just get a deletion notice in the mail from the collector. They don't really have the...
I have a question. Do you want me to put it in the chat or just say it? Or how do you want?
No, go ahead. Just...
Okay. Do you find that there are collection agencies that are easier to get deletions from the validation letters?
Yeah, I find that usually like portfolio recovery, Midland funding, IC systems is another one that we get really good deletions from. And they'll send you a letter. Like I usually, like when I send them to IC systems, they send a letter back out to the customer, and it's an actual deletion letter saying that they're deleting the item.
So you send them just a validation letter saying whatever it might be, and then they send a letter to your client that says, we've deleted this account?
Yeah, so one of two things can really happen, or one of three things honestly can happen. I'm going to send the validation letter, and they're either going to validate it. They're going to send back the validation, maybe copies of the contract or whatever it may be. They're going to get a package in the mail with the validation, or they're going to send a letter stating that they received the request and that they're deleting it, or they're going to receive nothing at all. And it could still get deleted. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll get something back, but sometimes they do. Sometimes they'll get a deletion letter from them. Sometimes not. Sometimes validate. But I always start there. That's what I do typically. Because sometimes you can get rid of a lot of those little collections, okay, that way. Secondly, after I do that, then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to decide if there's ones that I want them to settle or pay at that point of the third party collections. So then I'm going to decide, okay, do I want them to pay or settle? Are they small? You know, I know they're going to settle for about half. You know, you can figure if you have a $500 debt, you know, they're probably going to be able to settle it for around $250. Do they have the funds available to do that? How new is it? Is it within 24 months? Because, you know, we're looking at that last 24 months. We want that totally clean. Is it within 24 months? Now, with third-party collection agencies, you have to be really careful when you're creating these action plans too, because you don't want them paying it unless it's going to be deleted. And when I show you the Wayfinder report later, it's going to show what I'm talking about, even on that Wayfinder report that a lender did. So if it's a third-party collection agency, you got to make sure, darn sure, that it's getting deleted. Because if it's not within the first 24 months and they actually pay it and it goes to a zero balance, that's going to tank their score. Okay, if it's old, if it's 5 or 6 years old, that's going to tank their FICO 2, 4, and 5 score. Doesn't necessarily do that to, you know, newer FICO models, but that's not what we're dealing with when we're dealing with lenders. So it's FICO 2, 4, and 5. So you have to know those things. Charge-offs are the opposite of that. So a charged-off account from Capital One, you know, Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, anything like that. Pay those to zero, the score is going to go up. Doesn't matter if it's 6 years old. If you pay that to zero, you're going to get a score increase from that by paying charge-offs on FICO 2, 4, and 5.
Did you say there's specific companies that you pay off the charge-offs, or did you say all of them?
No, this is all the way through. You do not have to get a deletion on a charge-off to improve the score. All you have to get is a zero balance. Okay, Chase Bank, I'm going to give you guys a really good tip today on Chase Bank for this part of it. Chase Bank settles at 10%, you guys, all day long. I have my clients settle with Chase Bank all the time at 10%. And I mean, I've had them settle $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 worth of debt at 10%.
Wow.
And then they have to move that to a zero balance. Now, a lot of times what happens is Chase doesn't actually update the balance. They just show whatever the remaining balance was of after they paid what they paid. Then that's an FCRA violation for you. So you can start tracking.
What kind of paperwork do you need from Chase when you pay the 10% off that they would be violating? So a Chase account.
You don't need anything. You just need basically that they agreed to settle for 10%. Once they agreed to settle for 10%, they have to report a zero balance.
Okay, so if they agree to settle, they're supposed to put a zero balance. If they don't, that's when we can take it to the lawyers and get the violation. Okay, and then can I ask one more question? I'm sorry to ask my questions, but
yeah, sure.
On the collections, do you have specific companies that if you settle with them that they automatically do deletions?
Yes. Yeah, I have an entire list actually.
I'll send that out tomorrow with the replay.
Yeah.
The pay for delete list.
So I've actually been in credit repair and had a credit repair company for about 21 years.
Oh, wow.
We just recently launched software that we built, Credit Butterfly. So we do these classes for free, and Credit Butterfly actually does this for you. You know, so I teach the action plan. This is what I've been teaching for a long time, many years now. So I teach the action plan method to get better results for your clients. And we created software. Kim and I created software to do this for you.
Okay, cool. So it's basically a outsourcing. The CROs would outsource to you to do this, you're saying?
No, you would like, you know how, like, do you own a credit repair company?
I do, yeah.
Okay. So what software do you currently use?
CRJ. I outsource to them. Credit
Okay,
repair
so you
junkies.
outsource to them.
Yeah.
So this is like a credit repair cloud or like a
Oh, okay,
dispute
dispute box. Yeah, I use dispute
It's
box
a
too.
CRM. Yeah, it's a full CRM that you can use for
I've been
your,
through them all. I know them all. Except for
yeah.
you guys, I don't know you all.
Yeah. So we're brand
Okay.
new. So it creates, so what our software does that is very different than other softwares is that our system creates credit action plans. It also tracks all FCRA violations and flags them for you. So
Cool.
that you know when you have a violation, you can send it to the attorney as well.
Okay, so I have a question on that. Tell me to shut up if you're trying to hurry. But I see that you guys work with McCarthy Law,
Mhm.
and I also work with McCarthy Law,
Mhm.
and they send me a video and these violations, but I don't have a lot of the violations that they talk about. I have other things that I think are violations. So I just started with them not too long ago.
Yeah, you probably do have more violations than you think you do. You just don't know because it's hard to always see them.
Okay, so you
So
guys teach that. Okay.
yeah, so that's what we do. We actually, it flags them for you so you know if you have a violation. And as people do their action plan, it tracks them as well. So if somebody pays something off, it doesn't get updated over 90 days, that's a violation. And so it's going to start tracking it for you once it gets paid.
And how
It's
much is
very
your
cool, but we're
software?
going to need to move on a little bit here so I
Yeah,
can,
sorry.
that's
Just
okay.
how much is
So,
the software real quick? And then I won't ask you questions.
yeah. So, but you can ask questions. I'm going to hopefully get through this so we can have enough time for questions at the
Okay,
end
okay.
too. All right. So I gave you a little more there than I was planning to. It takes a little while to get through that. So, you want to check for FCRA violations inside of, when you're looking at these credit reports, you're going to be checking for duplicate accounts, furnishers and debt buyers that are both reporting a balance. Does your client have a copy of, did they get a 1099-C on something and they're still reporting a balance? That's another violation. Do they have a mixed file? Is family members or something, account showing up on theirs that is not theirs, like things like that. Those are all FCRA violations. So you're going to also look to do a credit rebuilding plan with them while you're going through all of this other stuff. So you're looking at the derogatory information, figuring out what to do with those. What are we paying? What are we disputing? Is there different information you've gleaned from your customer at this point so that you know how to dispute some of those? But the rebuilding plan, do they have open credit cards? Do they have open installment loans? Are they do they have anything reporting, positively that's giving them positive credit points? If they don't, this is another huge area that you can get positive points in. Like if you have somebody that comes in, they have zero, nothing. They have no open revolving, no open installment. They just have a whole bunch of negative stuff on there. They've got like a 420 credit score. We love those people, right? Why do we love them? Because we know we're going to get about 150-point increase over the next 30 days as soon as they do these things. So we're going to put them in, 2 secured credit cards and an installment credit builder loan. We're going to have 3 open accounts, which is what the lenders want to see when they go to get a mortgage. So if they're mortgage bound, we definitely want to have that. And mark those things, do they need those things? Do they need a secured card? Mark these down so that you know to give them the correct plan. Go through, the instructions with them. Keep their utilization under 10%. 6% for FICO 2, 4, and 5. That is your maximum. That's where you're going to maximize your credit points is 6%. Anything under 30 is good, under 20 is better, but 6% is going to be your best. That's the maximum amount of points that they're going to get. Just teach them the different things. Make the payments on time. 1 30-day late is going to drop your credit score about 100 points, right? They just need to know these things because if they don't understand these things already, and I promise you, most have no clue that 1 30-day late is going to drop their credit score 100 plus points. They're shocked by that. Another thing you're looking for on the credit report is the debts. Maybe they have a bunch of debts and student loan strategies for them. So for the debt strategies, you can use a snowball, an avalanche, settlements, refer to debt relief if you have a partner in debt relief. You just have to look and see what's going on with their credit report. Do they have a ton of debt? Is it so much debt that they can't pay? Do they need some kind of a debt relief program? Do they just have a bunch of credit cards that they need to start knocking down? Maybe their utilization is really high. I really love when they have clients have like a lot of credit cards, maybe more, 10, 15, something like that. And a lot of them do. I like to recommend undebt.it. And that's exactly how you type it in. It's a free tool. It's called undebt, UNDEBT.it. So great. They can put everything in there. They can put in all their interest rates. They can put in their credit cards, the amounts, everything. And for them for free, it will track it. And it'll tell them. They can put in a budget, say, okay, I have X amount of dollars I can put to this. It'll show them their minimum payments and then what they could pay extra on top of that. And it will tell them if they did a snowball or an avalanche method, it'll tell them exactly how long it'll take them to pay it off. And they can mess with it. If I pay this much per month, what will it do? How quickly can I pay it? It will tell them what to pay off. If they want to save the most amount of interest, or do they want to, that's the avalanche method. If they want to start with the smallest and, do the snowball method, which doesn't save as much interest, but it'll even show them what the interest is. So it's a super great tool. Use it all the time. I've used it for years and years. My clients love it. And it's a totally free tool for you. Student loans. That's the other thing. When you're creating these action plans, you have to figure out what's going on with their student loans. And a lot of people have student loans. There's a lot of different ways for them to report. So you need to figure it out. Are they current? Are they currently delinquent? That's another thing our software does for you, is it automatically tells you if they're currently delinquent, like past due right now, and they need to do something about that. It goes right into their action plan, because you're going to have to let them know they need to go in and they need to bring it current, or they need to get it back into a forbearance, or they need to get it back into a deferment. They need to do something, because if they're currently late on student loans, or we're seeing more and more of this because they just started reporting the lates again finally. So now a lot of people are just freaking out and panicking. But understand, they're probably going to have to just bring it current and start paying it on time so they can recover some of those lost points. I see a lot of people lately going, oh, look, well, it's magic. They deleted all these student loans. Well, that's not really magical, you guys. I just want you guys to know that it's not a magical thing to delete somebody's student loans that are currently actually behind or in default. You really do not want to do that. You need to have them fix it, because what they don't understand is that when they go to get a mortgage, say they go apply for their mortgage and it's gone from their credit report. Oh, they're not worrying about their student loans at all. And they're applying for like a Govy loan, like an FHA loan or something like that. Guess what's going to happen? That loan officer is pulling that Kavers report, and those loans are showing right up on there. They're going to show in default. They're not getting their mortgage. That may come at a later time when they're really involved and invested into their mortgage, but that thing is popping up. So it is not servicing them in any way to delete their student loans. You have to have them fix them. So you have to figure out the status. Are they current? Are they in delinquent status? Are they currently late? Are they in default? They're in default, you're going to need to do a rehab program. So these are little checks for you. You can check it off. Do they need a rehab program? Do they need to do a consolidation? Do they need an IDR plan? Whatever it is, that you can make little notes on here so that you know exactly what each client needs. These are just basic client homework follow-up stuff, making sure you have, IDs, signed agreements, any other docs do you need to get from them. Just make some notes for yourself. If they've said, oh, hey, I paid that off 6 months ago, say, great. Do you have a letter for that? Do you have a letter stating that you paid it off? What do you have? And collect those documents up front when you're talking to them and you're doing that evaluation, because those are going to come in handy for the FCRA violations later. And you can send those in with your letters too. So when you create a letter for that, hey, I paid this off 6 months ago and I'm attaching proof, whatever it may be. We send it into the bureaus. What's hilarious to me is that we do this all the time. We always send the proof. We send everything with it, letter, proof, ID documents, the whole shebang. And they still don't fix it. So clearly, I mean, they're just like throwing the letters out, right? So when they do that, Experian is like pretty notorious for doing this. So when they do that, guess what we're going to do? We're just going to wait the days out until the 30 days elapses. Then we're going to go get our FCRA violation for it. You're going to get paid and your client's going to get paid at the same time. So these are just some, little checks for you just to make sure you have everything that you need, like when is your next check-in date with this client? When is the next time you need to pull the credit report? For items that get paid off for the FCRA violations, they have 90 days. So if somebody paid something off 6 months ago and it's still not reporting, that's only a one-time thing. You can do your letter, wait 30 days and be done. If they just paid it off, they have 90 days to get that actually updated before we send that to the attorney. But again, in Credit Butterfly, our system tracks all of the timing for you as well, so that you know when it's ready to go. Okay. Affiliate referral. So if you are doing action plans for your clients, you guys should always be getting paid on the affiliate products. And I'm going to give you some ways to get paid on those. So like number one, credit monitoring, right? Everybody should be monetizing the credit monitoring. You have the different ones. You have, smart credit, you have my free score now, you've got identity IQ, you've got my score IQ. And just as a little side note on the my score IQ is the only one, if you're working with a lot of loan officers and you're getting a lot of leads from loan officers and people are buying houses, I do like my score IQ because they do give you one actual mortgage score in that, where you can get FICO 2, which is the actual mortgage score. It's not Vantage. So you're not having to figure out, the differences between those models. And it's a little easier to gauge if you don't have a lot of experience in that area. So definitely be monetizing those, that. Also secured credit cards. If you're not monetizing secured credit cards or credit builder loans, you definitely should be doing that. Credit card broker. Kimberly will put the link in there for you for credit card broker. If you're not already signed up with someone like that, you definitely need to get signed up with credit card broker. We integrate with credit card broker directly into our software. So anytime the credit action plans do show up inside of there, it will populate the secured cards, the credit builder loans, and you get paid on all of those. So when your client is in their portal and interacting with their portal and signing up for those things, you're getting paid every single time they sign up for that. Debt relief. Maybe you have a debt settlement company that you're partnered with, and you send, if you get people that need debt settlement rather than credit repair, you're sending them over there. You can also be monetizing that. There's lots of different places that send you a referral fee for that. You also have legal referrals, just like with McCarthy Law. We partnered with McCarthy Law for our credit, for our software, but just in general, even if you don't use our software, all of these things you should be getting paid on. So sign up for, McCarthy Law, so you could be sending those FCRA violations in. And Kimberly's going to post like all of these links for you inside of the chat so that you have them in case you need to sign up for any of those things. Charge-offs and collections. So this is where you're going to want to just list out the different things. What charge-offs and collections are you going to pay or settle? I would, write down the names, what's owed, the recommended action for it. do you want them to pay it? Do you want them to settle it? Do you want them to leave it alone? You know, you need to make those decisions. And again, some of those decisions just come from experience and learning. You definitely, again, you never want to pay off third-party collections that don't get deleted. That should just be your mantra. We never want to do that because and the newer models, it doesn't matter. It actually helps. They just factor them out once they're zero. But the older model, if you're getting a mortgage, it's a big problem. Okay. It's a huge drop. And they know this. This is why they're going to the newer models here eventually, but it looks to be more like 2026 or 2027 at this point before that's even going to happen to the newer models. So we still have to be very cognizant of what happens when people are trying to get a mortgage by paying those old collections. So definitely be marking it if you should leave it alone. Is a pay for delete available? We're going to give you a list when the replay goes out tomorrow. We're going to give you that list so that you can check it. Okay, and make sure. And then I coach my clients on the settlements, even though I know that certain ones do pay for deletes. I never tell them to just do it without making sure. So I just tell them always to ask. Ask before you pay, ensure they're going to remove it, and give them the correct verbiage to do that. So those are some of the things that you need to be looking for when you are creating your credit action plans. Once you have all this information in here, then you can create the proper plan for your client based on their particular situation. Okay. And again, based on their time frame, based on what amount of money they have, things like that. And the one I wanted to talk to you about a little bit, it was a Wayfinder that I did. I had one of my loan officers actually run it because he sent me a file the other day. He sent me a credit report, and this guy has a really thin file. He's got one collection, okay? One collection on there, and the rest is kind of a high utilization, thin file. And the credit score is around 655 right now. And that's the only thing that's bad. High utilization, perfectly on-time payments on all the credit cards, about 5 or 6 of them. One collection. So I told him, run the Wayfinder because I want to see what happens. Because the one collection was an installment collection. It's just a third-party collection. So I said, all right, let's see what happens. So because you have, I wanted to see what it would do if they told them to pay it or not on the Wayfinder. So what it ended up doing was it told them to pay it, but here was the kicker. So even the Wayfinder is smarter now. It told them, it used to never tell them to pay a third-party collection, but it did, but it said it had to be deleted. Okay, it literally said that on the Wayfinder report. So with that, with paying down the credit card, so there was 2 ways to make this score go to 720. It's over 700 or 720. Okay. One way was to pay that one. It's for the same amount of money too. One was to pay that collection only if they would delete it and then pay a couple of cards off down a little bit. And they got them to the 700 plus mark. The other way was to just leave the collection alone the way it was and pay down the cards to a much lower utilization. Okay, and that got to a 720. All right, so there was 2 ways to do it, but let's think about it now a little bit more. He can't get it through DU. So there's more issues here than what meets the eye. So he cannot get it through DU or LP, cannot get it approved. Why? Because it's too built up. It's a thin file. Everything's like 2 years old or less. Like, so it's not a very fat file, but that collection is there. So it's just making the risk. It's piling the risk on, right? Because that collection was pretty recent. So now if we were to get rid of that, because we know it's not going through DU. So I don't think it's going to help us any. We can pay down all of those credit cards and leave that collection and it's probably not going to change the risk enough to get through DU, to get an approval. So in this case, because the cost is not going to be any different, okay? The cost is going to be exactly the same as about $2,500 either way we do it. So if you get rid of that collection, that's going to lower our risk factor, right? For the overall credit report. So that's what you would do in that case. Okay, because that has a much bigger chance of getting through DU after. Then the other thing you could do on this file to help get through DU because of the thin factor. So if you took that collection off and it still didn't get through DU, the loan officer still can't get an approved eligible there, then maybe you see if they have a family member or a friend or somebody that can add them on to an authorized user account to lengthen that thin history. I don't buy trade lines. I don't believe in buying trade lines. I think that's you're setting them up for mortgage fraud, something like that. Adding as an authorized user is perfectly acceptable. So if you can get, say they have a sister or a mother or brother or whatever, and they can add on to a credit card that's 10 to 15 years old, now you solved the problem of that thin file. Okay. FICO 2, 4, and 5 still uses those authorized users. In later models, that's factored out. They will factor that out. But FICO 2, 4, and 5, that still works. Okay, so you can do that. So now the loan officer has a much better chance of getting that approved eligible. All right, so I'm going to shut up now and take any questions from you guys about anything you have, about creating credit action plans or, how to improve scores based on client interaction. Don't everybody jump at once.
I was trying not to ask questions.
That's okay. It's perfectly fine to ask questions. Yeah, we have about 10 minutes or so for questions. Let's just start, maybe you guys can share who currently creates credit action plans for their client.
Not me. It's a good idea.
Yeah. So, and Ernesto, you create them. I know you've been using action plans for a long time. So you get better results, right? Your clients, when they do some of the work and help you, you're going to get better results for the client and they don't mind doing it.
Yeah, 100%. And this way, you hold your customers accountable as well. It's very detailed in what you're doing, and it makes you look like a pro. Even I'm not saying we're not, but it just breaks everything down for them a lot easier.
No, it does. And it changes it up because a lot of CROs in the business, they never do an action plan for their client ever. They just start disputing things and the client has no idea what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right. They don't have any knowledge or education on it. So once they start seeing the differences, it makes all the difference. All my clients, they're shocked no one ever tells them to do this. They tell me, oh my gosh, I've been through credit repair already 1 or 2 different times and why didn't anybody else tell me to do this? People are scared to tell people they have to do their own work. And you don't have to be scared to do that. People actually appreciate it. They're like, oh, I didn't know that. If I do this, then my score is going to go up. Yeah, exactly. But they have to do it. I mean, you can't do it for them, right? You can't pay down their credit cards for them. You can't apply for secured credit cards for them. You can't settle a collection for them. You can't do any of that. They've got to go in and do the work because let's face it, you guys, credit repair is not the same as it was in the mid 2000s, right? Or even 10 years ago. It's completely different now. They verify these things. A lot of these things, they're not coming off. You can't just dispute things and have them all removed anymore. It just doesn't work that way. It's a different era. So is there anybody else that would like to share if you're using credit action plans or if you're not using credit action plans, Do you think you can implement this in your business?
Sure.
Hi, Greg.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. So yeah, I've done some credit action plans with various clients in the past. I'm looking at getting more involved in credit again. I was during COVID and pre-COVID, I had a little office that I would do funding and then help with credit back in the day. So yes. But I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Sure, I was interested in it's a little bit separate from your original question, but I was interested if you have any demos or taped demos of your software.
We don't have anything taped yet,
Okay.
software, but we actually do demos on these Wednesday nights. Sometimes I just do a demo Wednesday night for the software.
Okay.
But you could also book a demo with us if you want to
Okay,
see.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to see it too. I mean, it sounds like it's a little more involved than just a regular CRM from what I'm picking up on.
Yeah, I can, well, we only have 10 minutes, so I don't think I have enough time to show you today,
Booking
but
demo. I'll put the link in, so if anyone wants to book a demo, you can. But it's
Okay.
actually easier than a lot of the other softwares, believe it or not, even though it does a lot more. That's what I think.
yeah, well, I'm going to tell you what's really cool about the software is that the FCRA flags are dropping here tomorrow. This is the game changer. It tracks
cool.
it all for you. So it will literally, if you put in the credit report, it's going to tell you if you have duplicate accounts, it's going to tell you anywhere you have an FCRA violation immediately. Then as your clients interact with that action plan inside of their portal, it will create the FCRA violations or possible violations as you go when they pay things off and do things like that. So it's really cool. If you've talked to them on the phone, because most of the time, let's face it, FCRA violations, they're not that hard. They're kind of hard to spot, but when you do spot them, the biggest problem is remembering you have them when you go to do the re-imports because you forget. You forget you were tracking something or what you were doing. So the system tracks it for you, tracks the timelines, tracks the violation. So you can never forget that you were tracking one. Because I've had it like months later, I'll be like, oh, wow, I was supposed to send that in like 3 months ago. I forgot.
And when you say tracking, does that mean like you're sending in disputes to see if you can get it corrected? And then now it's like, well, you've had enough time. Now it's definitely a violation. So send it to McCarthy. Is that what you're saying, tracking?
Yeah, so it's going to track it immediately. So say you talk to the client too, say you have 1099 or they just told you it's a mixed file. It even tracks that for you because as soon as you pick the dispute reason, it's going to know it's a violation. So if you say, oh, it's a 1099, I have a 1099 on this, that's your dispute reason under the FCRA reasons, you pick that, it's going to now flag it. Okay, that's a violation. So if that doesn't get changed, you're going to be sending it. It's going to track the time too. So when the time does show up, it's going to say a little button is going to appear. So when the 30 days is up or the 90 days is up, whatever your time frame you had to wait on, as soon as that's up and you do a re-import and it recognizes that report is, so many days past, then it's going to immediately flag it to send in and a button will appear, send it to McCarthy.
Oh, that's cool. And you said it does generate the letters for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It will generate letters for you. You do some of it. Some of them generate automatically. So if a client pays something off and they hit complete in their action plan, it will just automatically flag it as a possible violation as soon as that happens. And it will also create a letter for you to send to, a proper written letter to send to the Bureau for the violation.
And do either one of you guys offer training on what we're looking for in credit reports to dispute a certain way or looking for the violations or anything like that? Education?
Yeah, so we have a couple things. I do have a course called the Credit Action Plan. Imagine that. So
Credit
on that, in that course, course, we do sell that course separately. If you want to know more about that, just hit me up after. And if you sign up for our software, you actually get that course for free. We
Okay.
include it with the software to help you, because we want to train you. Especially if you're going to be using our software, we want to train you, make sure that you're, changing up the action plans for each customer in the way that you should. It creates the action plan for you, but then you need to tweak it a little bit to make sure it's what you want to do.
Okay.
So we have all of that.
Then-
Yes, Greg.
Yeah. Another question for you. As far as the monitoring sites, do you have to have a monitoring site like Identity IQ, or can you directly use like from annualcreditreport.com as well?
No, we can't do the annual credit report ones. We're kind of working on something for that, but yeah, it's going to be either Identity IQ, My Score IQ, Smart Credit, or My Free Score Now. Those are the 4 that we currently import with. But yeah, you do have to have an active monitoring to import into our system.
Okay, very good. And then I guess with the agreements with the attorney, is there a system or a dispute strategy that you recommend or don't recommend as far as, let's say you did find a violation, 1 or 2 on the credit reports already. Now, can you use that as leverage to kind of negotiate the removal of all like negative accounts? Like if there's multiple charge-offs because they have the violation, have you ever used that strategy or know of it?
Well, I mean, you could, like if you had a charge off and you wanted it deleted, I mean, I guess you could try to use that as leverage.
Okay.
Like if they have a violation, most of the time the attorney is going to probably be able to get that deleted for you when they go litigate that anyway. So it's going to be part of what they're going to negotiate. Me, I don't like to do any of the work, right? I just want to spot them, send them, set it and forget it. I just want to collect my check in my mailbox.
Same.
You know what I mean?
I guess my last question is because I found out about you. I'm not exactly sure, but the thing that interested me the most was working with the attorneys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that one point is very valuable. What is the percentage they pay, or how does the pay work? If you send them the violations the way that they want it.
Yeah, so if you sign up, you get $400. So if you send it in, they accept it. Usually in 24 to 48 hours, they're going to accept it or not.
Oh, wow.
The following month, you will get paid your $400 check, and then within 90 to 120 days, your client will get anywhere from 1,000 to 2,500 per violation as well.
Wow, that's great.
It's like a no-brainer. It's a great.
Right. And you're saying that your software will flag what violations and tell you to send them to the lawyer.
Yeah, and that's
pays
so
for
cool
itself.
because it's dropping this week, literally in like 2 days. The FCRA tracker is dropping. We have some users on the call. Albert's smiling because he's excited. Like, yeah, it's dropping soon. It's gonna be awesome.
And also Letta has her hand up. And also I just wanted to let you know, I saw Albert and I see some other people that just joined. We changed the time last week. So, but don't worry. We will send out the replay to everybody because it's hard to change the time a long time.
Yeah, I'm bad. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We usually have a lot more people in class, but I think I kind of threw everybody off by having class an hour early today. Letta, what is your question?
I was kind of listening to everything and it kind of slipped, but I think it was more of trying to get in and create the action plan and on the website and kind of flow from there. And I think you answered it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and did you get the workbook for the credit action plan? Look in the chat, you guys, because for people that just joined, I did make a workbook for you guys where you can just, write things down, little check boxes and things so when you're talking to your clients and doing an evaluation.
Again, so it's right at the bottom.
Got it.
So I'll put it in with all the links to everything when I send out the replay tomorrow as well.
Okay, thank you.